When I began Xena, I would have never thought that I'd get an opportunity to work with large companies like Nestle, Samsung, P&G, and so on. But as fate would have it, as Xena has grown over the years, we have had the opportunity to meet and work with said large companies. One of my first hesitations when I began Xena was that, we were a startup. We had a few people, we had a cool product, we definitely had value that all companies needed. But my initial thought was, why would a large company take the risk or the perceived risk of working with a startup, despite the fact that we have an amazing technology and despite the fact that we can really, really help solve problems that they need help solving? And so one of the first breaks that I got was getting connected to head of innovation at one of the largest CPG firms in the world. And that person was kind enough to give Xena an opportunity to show what it's worth, to share Xena with their team members and team members across the world and give us a chance. And that opened the doors to Xena entering the world of Fortune 500 companies as customers. And it is a great feeling. And there are a few things that I've learned along the way being a part of the whole process. One is that in enterprise sales, you spend a lot of time in relationship building, and I love relationship building. That's what I do for my all the customers that we have right now. Apart from the fact that we add value, I strongly believe that business, just like in personal life, is made of personal connections. It's made of understanding each other, and it's based on empathy. Because at the end of the day, when you're working with customers, big or small, what you're trying to do is help them out to make their life easier and to add value to what they do. And that is, in a word, empathy, which I like to build. But for large companies, of course, there are more processes in place. For example, large companies have procurement processes or onboarding processes, which can be lengthy, time consuming, and takes a lot of effort from everyone involved. But we were fortunate to have that well wisher in place who helped us get through the customer. And we are very fortunate. And there is a saying that nobody gets fired for hiring IBM or McKinsey, which means that employees of large companies are typically risk averse, who typically do not want to put their own jobs at jeopardy or do not want to stick out their necks to support new innovation or to support companies that may be smaller in size or startups specifically. But I've been very fortunate, and I think that is kudos to my team who has been able to put this together, and of course kudos to the product and the technology that has added tremendous amount of value to them. I love enterprise sales because once you build that connection, you have that credibility, you have that logo on your website, and it is a natural morale boost for me and the entire team as well to be working with such massive, massive, well known global companies as well. And not to mention the fact that it helps with fundraising as well. But at the end of the day, Xena works with mid-sized companies, small companies, enterprise grade companies, and I'm very happy that the solution that my team has built is of so much value that companies of all size choose to work with us again and again and again. But enterprise sales is interesting. It requires nuance, it requires experience, it requires a tremendous amount of relationship building, and it requires skill sets that are different from acquiring or targeting smaller customers, where there is a more of an involvement of faster decision making and fast implementation and fast results as well, unlike in enterprise companies where you spend a lot more time in onboarding, in RFPs, in closing deals, in signing NDAs, and so on. But regardless, I am very fortunate to be in a position to have signed with these large companies. And I strongly believe that all startups or all founders should spend some time in building infrastructures in place that large companies find interesting, and they should also start building relationships with people at the top on these large companies so that they can get them as their customers as well. Because one thing you have to realize is that there are great people everywhere, there are kind people everywhere, and there are empathetic, um, technology forward, people in these large organizations who are willing to support you just because of your hard work, merit, and the value that you bring to the table. And I've been very fortunate to be on the receiving end a lot of those.